Well, hello, Programming 12. We're back with more stuff about array lists and in the context of object-oriented programming. So last video, we recreated our bouncer program, but we changed the arrays to array lists. We're just missing something, and that's the actual bouncers. So we have no bouncers. So I wanted to show you how you can add the bouncers. In the past, here's us in the array version of this program. We had to add all the bouncers at the beginning in setup, and then we just use them over and over again. So how do we do it over in our array list program? So I'd like to be able to make a new bouncer every time I click the mouse. That's what I want to do. And it could be created by other circumstances, but that's a good circumstance, I think, to practice with. So I'm going to make a new tab for our mouse interactions. And I'm going to make a void mouse released function. And if you recall, that mouse released is a special built-in function that processing calls every time you click and release the mouse. So I'd like to put in the code for adding a new bouncer here. So first of all, I just want to look at our bouncer and just remind ourselves, how do you make a new bouncer? So that part of it's not going to change. Over here, this is us actually creating a new bouncer. This is us calling the bouncer's constructor, and you use the new keyword to make that happen, because constructors are a little bit different than other kinds of functions. So we need to do something like that. We need that new bouncer somewhere in there. So let's do it. I'm going to put that inside of here. I can't just say new bouncer. That creates a bouncer, but it doesn't put it into the list. So I have to put that new bouncer into the list by saying the name of the list, bouncers, dot add, and then new bouncer can go in parentheses, like so. So what happens is the dot add method adds a bouncer to the list. New bouncer calls the constructor to create a bouncer, and then it goes into the list. So if I run it, let's just go back and confirm. I expect when I click the mouse, I got my thing. Here we go. All right, so here the program's running. So I'm going to click, and sure enough, I get a bouncer. If I click again, I get another one. And I keep clicking, I can get more and more bouncers. Go, bouncers, go. Go, bouncers, go. Go, 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 go. So there's the bouncers bouncing splendidly, and they're being created as we click. They didn't previously exist. If I keep clicking it, I just don't think I can click fast enough. Like eventually we'll start lagging out our program because we'll have so many bouncers going. And of course I have OBS running right now, so it's gonna lag even faster than normal. So that'll be kind of goofy. So there we go, that's us creating bouncers. And that was pretty easy, right? Like one line of code, and the syntax isn't too confusing, I think anyways. Like it kind of makes sense. Like, we're adding a bouncer to our array list. Bouncers.add. Our array list is called bouncers. So we're going to add a new bouncer. That reads pretty well, I think. And of course, I've seen this many times before, and this is possibly your first time seeing this, so it might not be quite so obvious at first. So ask lots of questions if you're not sure what's happening. But that's what's happening. It's basically adding a new bouncer, and our array list is growing, 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 growing. All right, so now let's make it so that we can actually have the bouncers bounce off each other. Because we have made that in the array version, but the array lists, we have to fix that. So in the first video, I commented out this code because it's using the array stuff still, num bouncers, bouncers sub I dot x and so on. So we need to array listify. Listify? Listify? This sounds pretty good. Hey? We need to listify our code. Instead of arrays, we will make it with lists. So I'm going to bring this code back in, and it will be buggy. Processing will, I guess I don't want that unleashed. It will not know what these things are. But we can remember, and actually here's a moment for you to think about that before I tell you, hey, what goes there anyways? What did we do last time to check how many things are in our array list? And the answer is bouncers.size. Remember, we don't want to use some hard-coded variable because it'll grow and shrink. And bouncers.size will automatically be updated as it grows and shrinks. So this always knows how many things is inside of bouncers with us not having to do anything. That's automatic. That will grow and shrink as we add, and eventually we'll learn about remove as well. So that's that. You might also know a bit about what do we replace here if you watched the previous video. So instead of using the that syntax with the square brackets, we can replace that with bouncers.get i.x. So it's like saying, hey, we're getting the bouncer from page I, and then we'll check its x. I have to admit this is getting a little ugly. Like bouncers.get i.x. Ooh, not nice. I totally understand if you're not loving that. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. And in a future class, I alluded to this before, but I'll show you a way to change it to make it a little bit cleaner. But I think that I will keep using it because it does look quite similar to what we're already using. Sorry, I'm having trouble scrolling here. So I think it's nice to just be able to convert this, just for now, to basically replace the square brackets with the .get function. So I'll go do that, and I'll do it everywhere because that square brackets, that's a property of arrays, and array lists don't work that way. So I'll replace it. And I'll replace it here. And you might have to replace it in other places too. Oh, look, there's a hidden one there. You're probably not using font size 36, so you might see everything a little bit better than I did. So just replace all those with .get. Okay, so there we go. Look at that. So hopefully you're feeling it, and it's feeling good to you. This will effectively loop through all the existing bouncers, and if there's 0, it'll do nothing. But if there's more than one, it'll loop through them all, getting each one, and using its variables to check for bouncing. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, and we'll see what we see. Okay, so I'll make a bouncer. We'll have to make a few before they actually start colliding. Oh, yeah, there they go. They're starting to bounce off each other now. We'll make a few more. Looks good. So a lot of this array list stuff is, it's fine. It's new, and it'll probably be a little confusing as you're looking at it, just because it's using new syntax, and that's always a little confusing. But that's what's happening there is, that's what we're learning. That's exactly the things we have to figure out. Like, how do we describe these types of things using array lists? So that's us adding every time we click the mouse. So, you can update this, though, and you can make it a little more exciting. Hey, what would happen if we took this, and instead of having it in mouse released, we just stuck it in draw? Whoa! This will get exciting quite fast, I think. So if we run this, we will see every frame we're adding a new bouncer, and I'll just spew these guys out. Now I'm going to drop frames fast because I'm running OBS, and I don't even think a lot of things. You can see the program is just blasting out bouncers, and we're just adding so many, getting a ton of them. And yeah, it's starting to crash, so we'll stop that. So yeah, we can make bouncers attached to the spacebar when we click, and we can keep on modifying things as we wish. To put it back in mouse released, I think it might be nice to make a bouncer, its initial position now be at sort of the mouse's X and Y. That might be a nice thing to add in. Mouse X, mouse Y, so that when we run this program, we see where we click matters to where the bouncers start. So I can click a bunch in the corner or this corner. All right, so things are coming along. We're making it possible now to dynamically create these objects while the project is running. So I'm going to stop here, and in our next video, we're going to talk about having these things die. We're going to make them disappear. Okay, so we'll be back shortly. Thank you. Oops. Thank you again.